Black fatigue. You've heard of it. I've heard of it. Most of us have heard what this is. But for those who don't know, it's people being tired of the reckless actions and decisions that are happening within the black community. The main issue is that most of these issues are from a very vocal minority, which are constantly posted online for millions to billions of people to constantly see. And I wanted to check out a video today that might address most of those issues. It's a video called Black Fatigue Why We're Tired of Ghetto Culture by Blackie Speaks. So I want to give my commentary on the video. I checked out about 1 or 2 minutes of the entire video and I was pretty interested in it. I think I will agree with a lot of the things that this young man might be saying. And I actually seen a comment right under the video that said a better title for this video would be Ghetto Fatigue, which might be an accurate assumption of what this video may be. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave your comment down below if you agree with my commentary or what the man in this video has to say. Let's get into it.
Hey man, it's getting spooky. I just came across something called black fatigue, and basically, it's white Americans are sick of our shit.
I got news for you. Black Americans are sick of your shit. Black people are sick of black people's shit.
Basically, society is saying that they're tired of how black people are blaming things that have happened to us historically in the past. And they are also now adding different things that they have seen in society to that behavior as well, like loud mouthing or maybe, using certain words or certain behaviors in public.
To a certain degree, I definitely agree with, that whole statement right there. Uh, I don't blame black people for, having an issue with what happened in the past and the history of it, for sure. And I definitely do believe that's played a part in why there's so much issues within our communities now. But to say we don't have more opportunities than we've ever had in our society now than ever before is ridiculous. And so when I constantly see online people that look like me doing ridiculous things, as entertaining as it can be, because some of the stuff I see online is just absolutely insane, and I gotta take a second to watch it and be like, wow, this is crazy, you know. But it really displays the negativity in our community because we're constantly highlighting the worst parts about ourselves, and it's an overwhelming minority in our community. The majority of us are just trying to get through life, get our space together, just get it in order, trying to have families and do what we have to do in order to live by in life. We're not trying to do all this craziness or ridiculousness or chaos that we see on screen constantly within our own communities. But that's what's highlighted. That's not who the majority of us are. We're just trying to have normal jobs, have a family and get our junk together. But you have people like that online, that'll be twerking or holding up gang signs or holding up guns. And that's what our youth will constantly see. And it'll create a certain perception or idea of that's what a black man or woman is supposed to be. And not to say that this isn't present in any other communities, because it certainly is. But who's constantly portrayed like that on social media? It's us. It's constantly us. And for some reason, for the last few years, it just hasn't changed. And I think it's because we're constantly putting people on a pedestal like that in our communities. We're constantly saying it's cool, it's this, it's that, it's funny, and that's why it's okay. That's why it's acceptable behavior. But I know there's a lot of fathers and mothers within our communities telling these young women and men not to act like this. But if you constantly see this on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or any of the other social media platforms, you're going to start thinking to yourself, okay, this is acceptable behavior. There's nothing wrong with this because everybody else says it's okay. But, let's continue the video.
Fatigue seems to be growing, especially within the black community. There's a growing frustration within certain behaviors, and more people are starting to speak up about it.
White people, black people, Hispanic people are saying we have black fatigue because of the behavior of some black people.
It's not racist to call black people out for their behavior and what they're doing to society at this moment. I'm glad people are noticing this because it's been so many years and it's finally catching up to y'all.
So, is there some truth to it? Or is it just another form of racism? And how come so many black people are starting to speak up about this now? Either way, we got a lot to talk about today. Now, black fatigue is a growing term in the social media world, a phrase that's meant to explain a rising frustration, dissatisfaction, and even resentment towards a small portion of the black community and some of the dysfunctional behaviors that are increasingly being called out. But here's the thing, this isn't a new term. The phrase black fatigue was originally coined in 2020 by Mary Frances Winters, a black author from New York. She was inspired to explore the concept after hearing the same phrase come up again and again from black millennials. "I'm tired," they kept on saying. The exhaustion wasn't just physical, it ran deep, tied to emotion, history, and identity. In her book, Black Fatigue, How Racism Erodes the Mind, Body, and Spirit, she explains that the original meaning of the term was about the centuries-long toll of the systematic racism passed down through generations.
And that's what the original term was supposed to be meant for. But as I had highlighted and the video just highlighted, this is an issue that's present within our community that's represented by a minority of us. Black fatigue was supposed to be like a physical and mental exhaustion from all the racism and discrimination that we face. And now it's being used as a term to talk about how other groups of people or our own people are tired of our community's behavior when it doesn't even represent most of us. So we're paying for the actions of the choices of a few people within our community, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I could have worded that better, but you get the point. The choices of a few people are hurting most of the people within our community.
Was the original definition, but now the term has taken on a completely new meaning.
Now to black fatigue, it has recently been turned into a feeling that some white and black people have who say they are damn tired of foolishness of some black people.
It is a completely behavior-based issue. And when white people, black people, Hispanic people are saying we have black fatigue because of the behavior of some black people, we've all seen it, we all know what it is, it's everywhere.
There are thousands of TikToks on it, posts all over X, YouTube videos, and even some mainstream outlets starting to cover it. I only started hearing about this term very recently, and at first I assumed it was mostly coming from people outside the black community.
I agree. I haven't really heard of this term used in this context until very recently. So, the fact that a term like this can be turned around and used this way is actually stunning to me. Not seeing where I'm not saying I don't see where some people are coming from, but to turn a phrase that was supposed to be an explanation for the issues that black people are going through to transition to a phrase that's used against our people is absolutely astonishing. It's almost hysterical, but not like in a laughing type of manner, but like, wow, look how it's changed. But let's continue.
But to my surprise, a large portion of the conversation is actually being led by black people. And that's when I knew that I had to do my own research by looking into this and sharing my take on it with you.
I was not aware of that. So the fact that, most black people are using this term and they're the ones starting this trend of using black fatigue to explain the tiredness they have within our own community. It explains it's not just a white, Asian, Hispanic people hating on our people, but it's also an issue within our own communities. We're seeing the actions that other people are taking within our own communities, and we're saying we're tired of it. It's really us. We're the ones that are demanding change. And that represents a lot more to me now because now it's not a whole issue of people can say, oh, well, this is a race versus race type of thing. No, this is a community issue. This is an issue within our own communities. Black people being tired of other black people's decisions. And I'm not too surprised when you're constantly seeing this, we have hookup culture going on, we ain't got certain fathers in the home, mothers pushing fathers away from their children, and now we got children being raised by social media, and social media is telling us that we can be a certain way or act a certain way. That's not in a good light for other people to see. Now it creates a certain stigma of who we are. Oh, this is how black people act. So very glad to hear that it's an issue within our own community and we're trying to tackle it and say these actions are a problem for us and it's making us look a certain way. This is why we need to address it.
The most viral TikToks on this topics are coming from within the community itself.
Black fatigue is real. Everybody is tired of black people, but it's two specific types of black people that everyone is tired of. Number one, everybody is tired of loud, ghetto, and ratchet, and violent, and mean, and angry all the time. Everybody is tired of them. Nobody wants to deal with them. Even other black people do not want to deal with these people. You know when you see them in public, you know when they're going to give you attitude at the CVS. Everybody knows it and they want to avoid.
And let's be clear, we all understand that none of the reactions rooted in these stereotypes are justified because it's not fair or accurate to take the behavior of a few and apply it to an entire group. However, when certain behaviors are caught on camera and go viral over and over and over again, they unfortunately start to paint an image of the entire community.
And that's exactly what I was saying. We see this constantly within our communities, these videos going viral of us doing these crazy things. And if you see this over and over and over again, you're going to start thinking, wow, this group of people act this certain way. Now, I don't necessarily agree with just making an overall assumption like the video just said, but I mean, when you see a consistent pattern of characteristics that a community is displaying, I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised if you're like, this is how a community acts. Now, at the same time, with that comment being said, we can't act like, all the issues within our community isn't somewhat related to, the history or our past. I don't want to use that as an excuse because we're definitely in a better environment than we've ever been in order to succeed economically at least. So, you know, I don't want the confusion to come in where it's like, okay, well, people looking at us a certain way is completely justified. I don't necessarily agree with that because, as the video has stated and as I've pointed out, very clearly, this is a very vocal minority. But I could also understand people on the other side of it saying, hey, I see this consistent behavior within this community. What's going on? But this behavior isn't just out of nowhere, I believe. There's history behind it. There's a meaning behind it. I'm not saying it's okay and I'm not saying it's right, but I'm not going to say that it just came out of nowhere. These black people just started acting up out of nowhere and I don't understand why. No, I wouldn't say that.
However, with that being said, one thing I've consistently heard from a lot of my friends in the service industry, I'm talking waiters and waitresses and even restaurant managers, is that black customers are the hardest to serve. Now, this has not only been said by all races of people, but I'm saying like other black folks in the service industry are saying this, okay? Whether it's not tipping, sending food back too often, or asking for refunds after they've ate, it's often said that those things are more common among black customers. So that
I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I can't even lie. I do see that a lot with our own people. I've even seen it within our own families. Constantly having issues when it comes to orders, and I don't know about the tipping part. People I've been surrounded by, they are always very generous about giving tips and things of that nature. But when it comes to issues dealing with foods and orders, I can't turn a blind eye and say I don't constantly see people within these restaurants or fast food restaurants screaming, yelling, talking about you didn't get my order right or something like that. You know, there's a civil way of going about things. You don't always got to turn something into a really big issue. So, I can't say that I don't see it. So I have to agree.
That's the perception a lot of people in the service industry have of us, which is very unfortunate and it's very sad. I mean, it's not a comfortable thing to acknowledge or even talk about. I hate the fact that some people might expect a certain type of behavior of people who look like me as soon as, let's say, we might step into a spot, right? And although, the stereotype doesn't obviously apply to all black people like me or you, I can't.
Obviously doesn't apply to all black people. Now, I have seen a good bit of them do it, but it doesn't obviously apply to all of us. But of course, it's going to create that negative stigma for us all.
If you're black, that is. Or if you're white, then obviously I ain't talking about you, right? I can't ignore the experiences they've shared with me. Now let's dive into the dine and dash stuff a little more. Because speaking of a particular incident, which was one of the news stories I played you earlier, it went viral a few weeks ago. A black-owned restaurant in Chicago called Flav's served 3 people, 2 women and a man, all black, and they decided to run up a tab of over $200 of shrimp and lobster, okay, and a bunch of drinks too. And then they decided to run out the spot.
It's actually disappointing. It's very disappointing to see that from the community that we actually serve, because we pour into our community. We're a small business, and I see this happening so often to a lot of different small businesses throughout the city.
Every time I hit a bottleneck.
Now, I'm not saying that doing this to other groups of people, regardless of race, is okay, but it's extremely sad that this was black folks doing this to other black folks. The young woman, the waitress who served the table, was a black woman who had kids.
And that's a really big issue that I have within our communities as well. We're constantly saying, oh, we should help a brother out or help a sister out or support the people within our communities. But when we do that, and of course, we're still speaking about the minority, there are people who will come into our black-owned businesses who are black themselves and bring destruction to it. I worked at a Family Dollar for several months, about 8 to 9 months. And over that span, the windows there were broken about 2 to 3 times because people were trying to steal goods or cigarettes from our store. Now, the person over it is black, and all of our staff is black. But we're constantly dealing with people trying to break in, and I've seen people on plenty of occasions stealing stuff out of our store. It's Family Dollar, y'all. And it's Family Dollar. What you guys steal from Family Dollar for? Like, come on, you stealing a bag of Skittles for like $2, man. Come on, really? It gets to a point where it's ridiculous.
At home, mind you, her not getting a percentage of a tip literally means she's not going to be able to survive in this economy. Because in America, tipping isn't optional, it's survival. A lot of servers don't even make minimum wage. Their income depends on those tips. So when you dine and dash, you're not just finessing the system, you're hurting working class people, many of whom are black themselves, just trying to, make it through this world and this economy like the rest of us. By the way, really quickly, if you're enjoying this conversation, drop a like for the algorithm and subscribe if you want to hear from me and you want to see my ugly ass face, okay?
They apologize.
You know what? Just because he said that, let's go ahead and do exactly that. You know what? Yeah, let's go ahead. Add that like. Add that subscribe.
They sent someone up here to pay the bill, but I declined to accept it.
Don't forget to do that. Go ahead and like and subscribe too.
At that point, it was just like, we're gonna pursue this the right way.
And apparently they sent somebody to pay the tab on their behalf after they got exposed on social media. So you telling me that y'all didn't even have the decency to go in like grown folks and say, I apologize, I'm sorry, this economy is beating my ass. Not that it would make it okay, but you get what I'm saying? Like, you didn't even have the decency to actually go in and show your face. That's crazy. They sent another person to pay because they didn't have enough courage to show their faces in the establishment. What a shame. Now, another story that went viral, again, featuring black folks. Absolutely hate the fact that we're getting this type of PR, but it is what it is, right? This story involved 3 black women, once again, in Chicago. Can somebody tell me what's in the water in Chicago with all these incidents happening? The audacity of this particular story is next level because these 3 women didn't only dine and dash after a $262 bill, They were also caught in 4K, strike number 1.
The 3 women from Rochester, New York visited Soul Vibes in the Near North neighborhood to celebrate a birthday and left behind a surprise, an unpaid tab of over $200.
And they also made a reservation with their names, phone numbers, and personal info, strike number 2.
They were spotted on surveillance, leaving one by one within 30 seconds of the server stepping away. They also forgot that they signed up on the wait list before being seated, including their name and phone number.
And strike number 3 is that they actually went on social media and they thanked a black-owned business for the free food that they stole, right? And
Okay, now that's when it gets ridiculous. You're going out of your way to be petty, man. That's ridiculous. Going on social media and thanking a business for basically getting free food, because that's what you did. You went on in there, took your food, and then went on out. 30 seconds? 30 seconds is all it took. And they were like, yeah, we out of here. That's insane. Those people right there are putting a bad name on our community. That's just the God honest truth.
that's how they ended up getting caught.
And to add insult to injury, they posted this onto social media, thanking the restaurant for the free food while laughing at waitstaff like Chloe Jackson.
You hear a lot of us screaming support black businesses, and this is how we treat each other.
These were two weirdly shaped or odd.
Sad, and it's also really hard to ignore that these types of crimes are becoming more and more common in general. And the fact that it's a lot of melanated folks doing this to other people who look like them, I mean, it's a shame. What do you want me to say? I'm not celebrating that I have to make this video. Like, it's actually an uncomfortable video to make because I'm not happy to see black businesses suffering because other people who look like them are literally stealing money from them. Like, I absolutely hate that I have to talk about this, and it breaks my heart. By the way,
but it's absolutely needed. We need that in our community where black people are holding other black people accountable so that, you know, other people from other communities are not coming into our issues and telling us how to do it. Because then we'll say we have a problem because they're being racist or things of that nature. It starts with us.
if you've been rocking with your boy for a while and want to support, just want to let you guys know that I dropped my first piece of merchandise recently. It's from my brand Blackie Apparel. As you can see, I'm actually rocking the t-shirt right now. If y'all want to support, the link is in the description below. But anyway, just want to let you know, let's continue with the video. Black fatigue isn't really about race or skin color. It's about a culture, a mindset that some black people are choosing to embody. Similar to the YN mindset topic that we recently spoke about, which is definitely a great video that I would recommend that you check out. The YN mindset is a term that's of course coined by me at this point, which describes a youth-driven culture often tied to erratic behavior that more often than not ends up harming others, whether it's stealing, robbing, or just being loud and belligerent in public spaces. Now, this culture that I'm talking about is separate from blackness itself. I mean, we're talking about a fatigue with what often is called ghetto culture. And ghetto culture is not black culture, nor is it found.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people get confused within our own community specifically, but sometimes outside of our communities as well. When we're constantly seeing people within our communities acting ghetto, people just consider it a part of our culture, when that shouldn't be the case. A lot of that culture is not acceptable for our people because it pans us in a bad light.
Black American culture. When I say the word culture, by the way, I mean it in the actual definition. And the definition is the shared attitudes, behaviors, and values of a specific group of people. This isn't about race. It's a mindset that anyone can adopt, regardless of racial background. With that being said, I've seen this kind of behavior from white folks, Hispanic folks, and black folks, of course. So it's not about skin color. It's about class, environment, and ultimately how someone chooses to carry themselves. Because the way you choose to walk through this life, your demeanor, your energy, that's not only something you can control, but it is a conscious decision. We all have a choice in how we show up. So when I mention ghetto culture, I'm not talking about blackness. I'm talking about a specific pattern of behavior, which is undoubtedly dysfunctional and not a productive way of showing up in society. And a lot of it is often born from struggle, limited resources, and sometimes a rejection of accountability. And the accountability aspect is important because when black people are constantly boxed into a certain identity by the world, but especially by each other, it creates a mental and cultural trap, which is ironic because, you know, that kind of makes me think about trap music and the fact that trap music is a thing. Because when you really think about the name, it sounds like the soundtrack for a lifestyle designed to keep you stuck, trapped in survival mode, trap music, trapped in dysfunction, and ultimately trapped in the lower levels of society. And often when
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think music does play a huge role in how some of the people within the black community act. In black music, you constantly hear, well, rap specifically, always hearing about guns, effing and screwing women, or women screwing men, things of that nature. And you have young children who are listening to that music all the time, and that's not okay. Now, of course, we also need to put it into the parents' responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. But once your child leaves the door, you can't control a lot of their actions. So it's a situation where you have to be able to tackle those issues while it's within the home.
A black person within the community wants to grow, like they make a decision to actually grow or take a responsibility or move differently, they're met with pushback from their own people. They get told things like, you think you're better than us, or that's not how we do things. A lot of my black folks, I'm sure y'all can relate to exactly what I'm talking about right now. Elevating beyond who you used to be becomes a problem, and sticking with what you know becomes the norm, even if it means staying stuck in pain or dysfunction down the line. And the question is, why is this accountability issue even a thing in the first place, specifically within parts of the black community in America? Understanding this is not about making excuses, by the way, because we do have to acknowledge the subconscious effect of generations of instability and what it really does to people. When you grow up in environments where poverty is the norm, where instability is constant and neglect is a part of daily life, what happens is certain mindset start to form. You learn to cut corners because survival starts to feel more important than structure, and you begin to distrust institutions, which, to be fair, black people in America have had valid reasons to distrust for a long time. You feel like the world around you has failed you, and that leads to behaviors rooted in avoidance, rebellion, and sometimes hopelessness. During the Jim Crow era, black people were stripped of opportunity, education, protection, and dignity. Entire communities were locked out of wealth building and basic rights, and that creates a ripple effect. When generation after generation is forced to adapt just to survive, it plants the seed for behaviors rooted in survival over structure. So right now we're talking about the psychological and subconscious effect of what's happened in history. But even with all that context, okay, with all that being said, I want to make something very clear. At the end of the day, how you show up in public spaces, whether you dine and dash or not, isn't about slavery or Jim Crow. It's about personal accountability. Whether you're white, black, Latino, Asian, purple, green, I don't care, blue. The truth is, people from all backgrounds are tired of ghetto culture. And like we touched,
And I props to this young man for, pushing this out and tackling this point like he did. Once you leave your house, it's about accountability. We can't act a certain way and then say it's because of our history. Sometimes if you went out and did something very stupid, you got to say, okay, I did something very stupid and take accountability for that. You can't do something that is ghetto or not take accountability for something when you're in the wrong. It is not acceptable to fall back on things that have happened to our ancestors or things that might have happened to you in the past as an excuse to get away with your actions in the present.
on earlier, ghetto culture and black culture are not the same thing. They've been falsely lumped together, especially by the entertainment industry, in order to sell an image, but they're not synonymous, and they are not the same thing. What's really happening is this: the bad behavior of a small group within a larger group is being tied to race, when in reality it's about culture, class, and choices. And as someone who's black myself and has observed a lot of the mindsets that permeate within the black community, I think the one thing that's holding a lot of us back is the victimhood mentality. A lot of us as kids, through the media, the people around us, and through politics, are taught that the world should feel sorry for us based on what's happened in history. And yes, I do believe in educating ourselves and others on what's happened in history, right? Because it's very important to know. But I don't believe in letting history hold you back from writing your current story. Because at the end of the day, if you really think about it, it doesn't make sense. But ain't no way our ancestors went through all that just for us to feel sorry for ourselves. It doesn't make any sense. I've never been a fan of any group of people looking at me and saying, poor you because of this and that. Not only do I not want your sympathy, but you can keep that because I don't need it. What I say is my battle scars don't define me. They're just a part of my story. Now let's lighten the load for a second and talk about a viral story that ties into everything we've been talking about: the Carnival cruises. I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard about this one. For my international viewers, Carnival is a popular American cruise line that operates out of Florida. It's known for being affordable and a fun time, minus the, drama, which we're gonna get into in a second, right? A few weeks ago, Carnival put up a message to their guests with a list of new rules. Things like no loud music on speakers, no smoking in restricted areas, and no weed on board. Pretty basic stuff if you ask me. Now, there's a lot of backlash on social media about these new rules. Some people felt like Carnival was trying to push black folks out as customers, especially since more and more black people have been cruising in recent years. But let's be real, the backlash doesn't make no sense at all, okay? First of all, I'm generally confused as to why we'd assume those rules were automatically about us. Like, if you hear no fighting, no weed, no indecent clothes, and your first thought is they must be talking about black people, that says more about what's been normalized in some of our spaces than it does about the company's intentions. Because
Yeah, it's all about mindset. The fact that, black people are getting offended by something like that really shows the mindset of our community. The fact that, we sit here and we say that's against our community specifically when we hear no fighting, no weed, no loud music, it really shows where we are mentally. And that's a bad thing. It really is.
when I read those rules, I didn't associate them with black folks at all. My first thought was, okay, looks like they're just trying to filter out the chaos. It sounded like a business setting a standard for the type of crowd they want, not a coded attack on race. So the fact that so many people, especially in black Twitter, did take offense kind of shows how deeply some of these behaviors have been tied to our image, even when they shouldn't be. And honestly, I really take offense to that, okay? Because the rules didn't mention race, they mentioned behavior. Carnival is a business, and like any business, they want to create a safe environment for everyone. I mean, there's kids on these cruises, there's families, people who are just trying to relax, okay? Calling that racism waters down what real racism actually looks like, if you ask me. The truth is, the people complaining the loudest were probably the ones who had no intention of following the rules in the first place. And honestly, you know what? I'm just getting to that point where I'm tired, because I'm just tired of a small group of loud, reckless individuals getting all this attention. And the rest of us just gotta get judged for the behavior of this very small group of black people in the black community. Like, I'm tired of being boxed into stereotypes I don't relate to or condone. I'm tired of having to feel like I gotta prove I'm not like that just to get basic respect. I'm tired of seeing the worst examples of us go viral and then get labeled as representation. That's not black culture, that's dysfunction, packaged and sold as entertainment, and we're done letting it speak for us. Personally, I don't have black fatigue. I have people who don't know how to act in public fatigue. I have no home training fatigue. And this is not about race, right? It's about how you show up in shared spaces with other human beings. Respecting others in that way, it's not hard, but somehow people still have not learned that. The saddest part about this whole black fatigue thing is that it's only gonna get worse on both sides. On one hand, we got the youth, like the, YNs we talked about, running around playing stick-up men, acting like Tony Montana, catching felonies and bodies and pushing dysfunction like it's normal. A lot of these kids don't have father figures, no structure, no guidance. So the behavior continues and the tension keeps building. And then we
And you just tackled on a point that's so important for our communities. Fathers. Having a father in the home is so important. It is so important. And a lot of young men and women might be missing out on the opportunity. And so because of that, they turn out reckless or they start doing crazy things. And don't get me wrong, I'm not taking away from, a mother or her nurturing or anything of that nature. A mother has a strong responsibility in being able to take care of her children as well. But the data shows that when a father is in the home, that kids are more likely to succeed and lock down and do what they need to do. So that presents another issue we must tackle, getting more fathers into these homes and making sure they stay in them. And it's not only the issue of, you know, fathers, just abandoning their children. No, that's not the only issue. It's also an issue of, women pushing away certain men or choosing the wrong type of men. That's also a very worrying issue within our community. Consistently, women are choosing men that are not good for themselves. We can't put all the blame on men. To a certain extent, yes, there are certain men that leave their children behind or are no good. But there are also plenty of men, black men specifically within this context, that are trying to be good fathers or are good fathers. But they're not the ones that we highlight in our society. Or they're not the men that women want because they're boring. They're a nerd. They have so many other terms that they use to explain why these men are not men that they want, yet they're the exact men that they're begging to have when they say, where did all the good men go? But I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there since it's gone on for pretty long already. But that's really the root of the issue. The root of the issue is addressing the problems where it starts, the homes. If we can start solving the issues when it comes to, fathers and mothers getting along and being within the homes to raise children and to teach them this is not how you act and this is how you act when you get out in public areas and spheres, that's when we can start solving the issues that are in our own communities. And then once we solve those issues within our communities, us constantly battling with each other and causing issues for each other, we can start dealing with the issues that are external. Other communities, you know, having problems with us or racism, things of that nature. But we must be able to tackle the issues within our communities already before we can start tackling the issues outside of our communities. And black fatigue is one of them. But with that, I'm going to bring this video to an end. I agree with the brother's thoughts in the video. He laid it out pretty well. And, go ahead and like and subscribe if you liked my commentary, and leave your own comments down below of your personal opinion or what you thought about the video. And with that, stay safe and keep your mind on success, because that's what we all need. We need a successful mindset.